Okay. So I want to start off by, I'll start off by introducing myself because I am the new project manager on this. I've been with TEP for 6 months or 7 months now, since February, whenever that was. And I've taken over the project management of this project. So I've been spending a lot of time just wrapping my head around the whole thing and meeting everybody and whatnot. So I'm Gina Christensen, Habitat Restoration Project Manager for TEP. And I've been in natural resources management for over 15 years. I came here from Tetra Tech. I worked with them in planning and permit compliance and whatnot, and wind and solar development. Before that, I worked for Timberline Ski Area for 8 years as their environmental coordinator. So I've had a lot of experience working with the Forest Service on various projects and U.S. Fish or NIMS, a little bit with U.S. Fish and Wildlife and some of the other local Clackamas County permitters. So that's a little bit about my background. And I think if we could just go through and introduce themselves. And you don't have to give like a whole history background, just your name, who you work for, what your role is there, and kind of what your specialty is. I'll go through the grid and start just calling people. Okay, Noel, let's start with you.
Hi everyone, Noel Batchelor, Oregon State Parks ecologist out of the headquarters office, and I've been involved in the Sitka Sedge project since the property was acquired, including all the previous phases of hydrological analysis and all of that stuff. So glad to be back here and to see you all again.
Jason Elkins.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jason Elkins, Park Manager at Cape Lookout Management Unit, which includes Sitka Sedge State Natural Area. I actually worked at Cape Lookout for 8 years before leaving to go to some other parks, and recently came back as the manager in January of 2021. So familiar with the property. I was here when we acquired it, and happy to see this project continue forward and to completion.
Conrad.
Howdy, I'm Conrad Ely. I'm the other Habitat Restoration Project Manager for TEP. And yeah, I'm backing up Gina on this project, and I briefly did some fundraising for it before she got hired.
York.
Hello, my name is York Johnson. I work for the Department of Environmental Quality. I'm the North Coast Basin Coordinator. I'm also in a shared position with the Tillamook Estuary Partnership, and my focus is on water quality improvements in the Tillamook, Clatsop, and Columbia counties.
Malia.
Hi, my name is Malia Kapillas, and I am a hydrogeologist. I work for Pacific Hydrogeology. I'm actually the founder of the company. My specialties are hydrogeology, water rights, and wetlands. And we also have a beach cabin in Tierra del Mar, so I represent the community, and I'm also on the Nesquin, Nehalem, Sitka Sedge Watershed Council Board.
Brett.
Good afternoon. My name is Brett Estes, and I am the North Coast Regional Representative for the Department of Land, Conservation, and Development.
Let's go, Claire.
Hello, my name is Claire Figner. Oh, let me turn my video on so you can see me too. Like Brett, I work for DLCD in the Coastal Management Program, and I am the Coastal Public Access Coordinator, and also have been helping administer some of the IIJA funds, the infrastructure funds for Coastal Zone Management Act for restoration planning and acquisitions. And my background is 20 years working in the Willamette Valley with a land trust doing restoration and acquisition work.
Meg.
Hi, I'm Meg Reed. I'm sitting next to Claire in the next cubicle over. I'm also with TLCD. I'm the newly coastal policy specialist, which focuses on the estuary statewide planning goals, but formerly with the department in the coastal shores specialist position, mostly working on the outer coast, but now I'm transitioning to work more in estuary. So I'm here just to kind of learn and get acquainted. Nice to meet you all.
And I'll just insert that Lisa wanted to join us today, but she had other obligations. So she asked if she could have some of her DLCD colleagues join us on this meeting so they could also be aware of the project. So, and we'll go with Michael next.
Hi folks, Michael Moses. I am the Estuary and Resilience Coordinator at DLCD, and I am helping Coos and Tillamook counties plan for natural infrastructure projects for coastal resilience around the estuaries.
Carson List.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Sorry my camera's not working, but I'm Carson List. I am at the U.S. Forest Service working under Adriana Morales, and I'm sitting in on the meeting today because she had to go over to a project.
Amy Horseman.
Hey, good afternoon. Amy Horseman. I'm with U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service in our aquatic conservation restoration group. I manage the fish passage program for Oregon, and like someone else said, also the infrastructure funds that are coming through our agency.
And Chris Perkins.
Good afternoon. Oops. Okay. I think my camera is on now. This is Chris Parkins with Oregon State Parks. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm the Park Resource Program Manager for the Coast Region. Also new to my position. I started in February, but I'm very glad to be back with Parks and glad to be back on the coast and to be part of this project. Thank you.
And it looks like Lisa just hopped on. Lisa, do you want to introduce yourself real quick?
Sure. Lisa Phipps. I'm the manager of the Oregon Coastal Management Program. Is that all you need?
Yeah, that works.
Okay.
And then Christy is joining us. She's just listening in. Christy Foster.
Hi, everybody. I'm the executive director at TEP. I've been involved in this project at various levels as we've transitioned through various employees. And I'm just kind of listening in. I don't think I'll normally be part of the tech team, but I'm here in case there are any questions. And I'm going to have my camera turned off because I'm eating my lunch.
I think that's everyone that's on the call currently. So Dave Shively wanted to join us today, but he had to be in the field on a project. So once again, I'm recording this so he'll be able to gather information. And then our engineer, Hunter White, was unable to join us today, but I have a presentation from him that I'll be able to go through and just step through what we've contracted them to do, the work that's anticipated coming up, including timelines and various technical details that his team is going to be looking into. So,
hey, this is Chris Knudsen. Just want to let you know I'm on the call too.
Oh, sorry, Chris.
That's all right. I'm used to being left out. Chris Knudsen, Department of Fish and Wildlife. I'm the district manager for the North Coast.
Okay, and Chris Lady also just joined us. Chris Lady, do you want to introduce yourself to the team? Oh, he's still connecting. While we wait for Chris Lady's audio to connect, I just want to let everyone know that I'm in the process of scheduling a town hall meeting, a public meeting regarding this project. It's going to be at the Kiwanda Community Center in Pacific City. Right now, I've asked to reserve October 22nd from 1 to 2:30 p.m. for the meeting. It's going to be a hybrid format, in person, and then I'll send out a Zoom link to the working groups and community association contact lists that I have. I'm letting you all know that now. I'm also just waiting for actual confirmation from Erica Sears that I have the hall. So once I have that confirmation, I will send out an email to the group to make sure everyone has a link, also a link to the Zoom if they want to join or listen in. And that meeting's also going to be recorded, and Noel has offered to post the link to that recording on OPRD's website, so it'll be publicly available. And I would like to move forward with quarterly town hall meetings in that way, because I really want this project to move forward with transparency to the public. I know that there's been a lot of discussion with the local community, the neighboring property owners, and concerns about various aspects of the project. And so one of my big concerns as the project manager and working with state parks is transparency in this process and moving through, just so that the public feels like they have an understanding of how the project moves forward, and that they feel like we're not kind of hiding things behind closed doors or having these discussions without their knowledge. So I've been part of a couple semi-tenuous projects in the past, and it really, really helps to have that information available to the public, and so people can come and listen and ask questions. So I'm just going to say that straight away. You can expect I'm going to have tech team meetings quarterly moving forward, and then hopefully be able to follow those up with town hall meetings so we can provide that public update to the community and any interested public stakeholders. On that note, I am planning on submitting for OWEB funding for community outreach, specifically to help fund the stakeholder engagement public outreach portion of it. So I'll be turning that grant in by the end of the month, and that should help cover the cost of like renting the halls, people's time, partners that need to come out and speak, things like that. Any additional information gathering or community surveys or anything else that we'll need to engage in, that should help offset that cost with the project. So I was hoping that Noel would be, or not Noel, that Hunter would be here, but he's, like I said, he's indisposed today. So we are just gonna walk through what he provided me. So Chris Lady, I know you were a little late in joining. Can you just give us an introduction of your role in the project and your specialties?
Yeah, apologize for joining late. Another meeting ran long, couldn't jump out of. So when you look at this, the largest component of interest that I have is really what is happening with Sand Lake Road, Reneke Creek belts, no name, Reneke Creek in particular. That's the one that has our most urgent threat of rain, it floods, right? And do we end up washing out that? Reneke, so with that, I'm the director. For those that don't know me, I'm also the county engineer for the public works, the road department. So with that is one of the things that Hunter contract with TEP is really about really Sitka Sedge. And when Hunter settles back in, he and I will put together another scope and contract to allow him to explore Reneke Creek under a contract with county to be consistent with exploring Sitka Sedge in consistency, so that we're not looking at one, we're looking at both in tandem. And I chatted with him when I think he was in BC, and we, not knowing he wasn't back yet, is that, yeah, it's when he gets back and he settles in, we can get that kind of wrapped up. But that way, the big picture, he was already looking at the big picture anyways, but this gives the big picture perspective with a little bit more detail that might allow the road department to go after funding for, with all the federal money coming down the pipe. Maybe we can get some money to, the money's up front for the bridge. And maybe that bridge money, because of the cross tie with Sitka Sedge, there may be some money that ties into, some of the things that we wouldn't normally do with a bridge, but it's a benefit to Sitka Sedge. So that's why really I wanted to try to get both of them moving forward, because potential funding, and also I might be able to get something off the ground earlier, and the urgency is there for this project.
Yeah. Thank you, Chris. And Jeff Burright, do you want to give a brief introduction, your role and your specialty?
I guess I'll start off. My name is Jeff Burright. I'm with the DLCD Oregon Coastal Management Program. My specific focus is on the federal consistency review for any projects that require a federal permit or license. It's an authority given to the state under the Coastal Zone Management Act, where we review federal actions for their consistency with state policies. And that includes the local jurisdiction policies as well. So my predecessor used to like to call it the caboose on the process, where if everyone has accomplished their parts of it prior to it, then we're just coming along the back and verifying that everyone has gotten their needs met. So, thank you.
Great. So I've touched on the future town hall meeting coming up. Other potential future meetings, just to front load this. I'm hoping to have an on-site meeting with OPRD to discuss the recreational aspects of this project. So anyone whose specialty or interest falls in that can join that as well, where we can actually walk and talk on the ground and look at what connectivity needs there are once we do breach the dike, or the dike is breached. And we can have a greater discussion at that point on site. The next tech team meeting and town hall meetings will probably be late winter, early spring. Once ESA has a chance to collect more data and start to put together some of their modeling. So as far as work that's been done at this point, ESA was able to do their drone imaging late September. I believe it was September 26th and 27th. They flew the whole site basically from the south Sand Lake Sandbar all the way over the community of Terra del Mar for FODAR and LiDAR imaging. And all of that's going to go into their 2D hydrodynamic model that they're building. Hunter and Noel are working together to share any existing data that the state has already collected, so there won't be redundancy in data collection. As far as the topographical data and geomorphic data that's been collected in previous studies. So we want to try to prevent any redundancy there, but provide ESA with a framework of what still needs to be collected. I believe they're still going to do the bathymetry data that they couldn't collect with the aerial imaging, and that should give us a full bathymetric layout of the site as it exists. So the plan modeling for that is going to be 50-year flood, 100-year flood, king tides, and projected sea level rise. In the current state of that part of the estuary, but then also modeling that with the various alternatives that ESA is considering. So I'm going to, at this point, I'm going to share my screen. I do have some, I have a PowerPoint from Hunter from an earlier a conversation that he and I and Noel had earlier this summer. And we can walk through that. So this is a lot of these initial slides are from ESA's proposal that we ended up selecting. So this is a layout of the project schedule, the current project schedule for phase 1. So this is the work that's currently being undertaken by ESA. Right now we're in this, we're finishing the QAPP, which is an EPA requirement. So we're getting that wrapped up, and then they're in the process of this field data collection, assessing the stormwater inputs from Tierra del Mar, and then generating the raw data that's going to go into this alternatives analysis and modeling. So as they move through this data collection and modeling process, we're going to continue to have these tech team meetings, just to keep you all appraised, and then take, oh, go ahead. Okay. And if anyone has any questions while I'm going through this, just put your hand up, or just jump in. And I can share this with anyone in the tech team if you want to look at this in more detail. This is just a general budget. Right now we have just about $200,000 secured in grant funding for phase 1. The funding for this comes from OWEB funds, from the Nature Conservancy Habitat Support PGE grant, and from a grant under the EPA through Restore America's Estuaries that's called the Coastal Watershed Grant. So we have those 3 sources of funding set up at this time to pay ESA to do this work. Here's just details of the ESA team. This is a graphic I wanted to share that ESA put together, just brainstorming. This is not based on any modeling or anything yet, but it shows some of the potential alternatives and alternatives that will be analyzed in this phase of design work. So obviously the dike is going to have to be breached at some point. It's already breaching itself. And then analyzing a setback dike configuration, location, what will work best both for estuarine health and the community. And then any interior improvements, ditch filling, removing old scars, agricultural scars, removing old fencing, creating more natural estuarine channels. And then of course the Sand Lake Road and culvert improvements. And he has those marked as separate, but as Chris had already mentioned, the county is working on procuring or setting up separate contracts to deal with Reineke first, and then deal with Belts and No Name. And part of the reason for that sequencing is that the location of these setback dikes could very well impact these 2 crossings, but Reineke is far enough north that that we can feel confident moving forward with design work on that particular crossing. We don't have to wait for the alternatives analysis for where the setback dike flood protection alternatives are going to land.
If I can add to the county comment on that as well, U.S. Forest Service Enterprise team had initially begun some of the process through doing some design work for a Reineke Belts and No Name, and we felt that it was too intertwined with the setback levy. So the Forest Service Enterprise team still has this potential on their radar to do the design work, but it's scheduling them out as well. So a lot of interactions, really what's going on with the dike, so that we can move forward with those others, regardless of the funding, if it's Forest Service funding, if it's DOT funding. there are funding options out there, but I just wanted to let people know that the Forest Service enterprise team also has some engagement with this.
Yep. And if Adriana could have joined us today, I'm sure she would have chimed in and spoken to that as well. So we are definitely talking with them and keeping them in the loop with where things are with this. And going back to funding with this, I submitted a NOAA grant for the Transformational Habitat Grant Program for this project. My total ask was 1.57 million, phased out over 3 years, and that is to cover, if awarded, that would cover the expenses for not just the belts, dike, and the internal habitat work. It would also cover whatever design work and permitting is left on all 3 road crossings, as well as a full assessment of Tierra del Mar's stormwater inputs, and also looking to provide improvement suggestions and full designs that we could then hand to the county, and the county could step in and make stormwater improvements for the community of Tierra del Mar to help alleviate localized flooding as well. So that's going to be taken into consideration with the setback dike designs, because if we can alleviate some of the standing water flooding issues with other stormwater design work, then that's definitely something that we want to consider in this project. Jason, did you have your hand up?
Oh, yes, but Chris touched on what I was actually going to say, just that some surveys were being done on belts in No Name by the Forest Service.
Cool. Okay.
Thank you.
Yep. So this just goes through some of the topics that we're working through with ESA and OPRD right now. This QAPP is a requirement, like I said, through the EPA, and they are funding roughly a third of the funds that we have for phase 1. So we're working on getting this developed through ESA. It's almost done. I think we should have a final draft by either late today or tomorrow or early next week. We're coordinating water quality monitoring with TEP and ESA. And if there's any additional monitoring that OPRD needs done or that we can coordinate with the Forest Service, they'll be involved in that conversation as well. We've already been able to get drone approvals, and we found a good weather window to get that flown, so that's checked off. And then these technical team meetings, I would like to keep them within our technical team group, so that we have an open forum for discussion. Like I said, I really want to move forward with transparency to the public, but I also want to provide a platform for our group to be able to come together and have open and frank discussions about the scientific and technical aspects of this project without interruption or without misinterpretation from folks that might take our discussion as, you know, hard solid truth when we're really just trying to work through various issues. So I do want to record these tech team meetings and have them available for other members in the tech team, but then I want to hold the town hall meetings as kind of the public face where we actually present kind of the outcomes of these discussions we have in the tech team meetings.
Jenna?
Yes.
On the water level monitoring, yes. I just wanted to let you know that in addition to the monitoring wells that OPRD installed, the community of Tierra del Mar also installed some additional water level monitoring wells, and those can be made available for additional water level monitoring to help with all of the data gathering.
Great. Thank you. Yeah, we're I'm currently discussing with the engineering firm and within our organization, we have the ability to purchase and deploy equipment as well. So we're having a discussion about who's buying what equipment, where it's going, what exact data we need. So I'll definitely be in contact with you about any use of any of those wells that we might need. So thank you.
The purpose of that is to track the groundwater issues that the Terra del Mar, you might have mentioned that, but is that the purpose of that?
Yeah, those monitoring wells were installed to help fill in the data gaps with OPRD to get a better handle on what the groundwater is. And we also have, our company has water level monitoring equipment that in the past we've made available to Terra del Mar, so we could also instrument those.
Okay, yeah, I know that was one of their large issues, was what was going on with groundwater, how would that affect their systems. So thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you. That's a good resource to know we have. And like I said, with all of this, with all this infrastructure funding that is coming out, the transformational habitat grant, the minimum ask was $1 million. And so we're just like, okay, what can we add into this to benefit the project and the community as a whole? And we kind of landed on the idea of delving more into Terra del Mar stormwater issues and groundwater issues and trying to figure out if there's another alternative to moving some of that water out and allowing for more drainage, since it is hydrologically connected to that part of the estuary. And so more discussions to come.
I was gonna say, yeah, this whole system is really unique because it really is largely groundwater driven. I mean, that was one of the things that we learned. And I'd also like to point out one of our big data gaps that we have is on the east side of Sand Lake Road there, where, you know, we have the spring and Rinicky Creek now currently goes down and joins up with that one wetlands, and then it flows underneath Sand Lake Road. We do not have any groundwater data for the water flowing into that wetlands area. So we don't know what its controls are if we're planning on doing any work over there like the past plans have shown. So we'll need to do something over there, maybe short term, but at least we need to look at it.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. That's on the work list for ESA, is to include that modeling as well. We're trying to get a sense of the broader, you know, kind of all the hydrological inputs to the area to make sure that we're making the improvements we need to where we're making them. So this is the existing dike configuration, as many of you know. It doesn't really function fully. The 4-foot culvert is undersized and is a hydrologic barrier to fish. If any of you have been there, I'm sure most of you have been there during the tidal exchange, and there's whirlpools on either side and it's actively undercutting. So these are more of Hunter's notes on ideas of alternatives. Currently, the current idea is 60 to 80 foot top width, 40 foot bottom width. And on the dike, there would be a pedestrian connection over the breach, so that we'd, you know, stick with Oregon State Parks purview of allowing having pedestrian connectivity in that area. So there's other alternatives that will be discussed as we move forward. You know, there's MTRs, which are very expensive, but, you know, we keep saying there's all this funding in the pipeline, so there might be options there as to what we can do. Just more on MTRs. And this gets more into more into alternative configuration flow rates and some of the feasibility modeling that's already been done. So all of this modeling ESA has, and the current work that they're doing is to build upon this and to land on a better alternatives analysis than just drawing, you know, a line on a map, basically. So I'm gonna exit this. And I also wanted to share, at this point, I wanted to share, oh, where is it? I wanted to share the timeline and budget that I requested in the NOAA grant most recently, so that you all can have a sense of what I'm thinking as far as project timeline. So let me share once again. So this is the rough timeline that I put in the NOAA grant for funding as far as the different the aspects of the project. You can see I have we should be at 30% design for the modeling and phase 1 by August 2023. That's when our contract with ESA winds down. So we should have the deliverables from that by next August. But as you can see, I broke it into Tierra del Mar flood protection alternatives and then all creek crossings as well in this funding proposal. And I have everything staged out for 60% and 90%. And then hopefully getting us to final designs and permitting by late 2025.
Are we discussing calendar quarters, federal fiscal year quarters, state fiscal year quarters?
These are our fiscal year quarters. So TEP's fiscal year quarters.
What is your fiscal year?
Right now, Christy, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe we're calendar year.
Oh, no, we actually, our fiscal is actually the same as the feds, but I think your calendar is I think what you're showing is calendar years or calendar quarters.
Okay. Yeah, this was generated in the grant, so it's kind of
so summer construction would be basically quarter 2 and 3.
Yeah.
For summer. So when I start looking at this on when we can build the bridge and back date.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. And like I said, this is all for design work at this point. But yeah, Chris, if we can get funding, if we can secure funding through this in particular, then we can work with you guys in getting laying out a timeline for Reneke Creek.
Yeah, perfect. And that's just kind of getting me the big picture, because prior to this being finalized, the bridge should be finalized as well. And then the scenarios, what happens if we build the bridge first, Reneke in particular, before all this other stuff happens? And maybe we can, maybe we can't, but the design quarters tie directly into federal asks, ties into, from the DOT perspective, and ties into construction. So just me wrapping my head around with 3 different quarterly, scenarios, which calendar month actually is it? Thank you.
Yeah. So this is the funding request broken down between the NOAA grant and then other non-federal funders. As you can see, I have the bulk of the design work happening in 2024. This can be shifted around. This grant in particular is new to NOAA. And so in discussing with their grant, the people that are monitoring and handling these grants, this all has wiggle room depending on where projects land and how these different grants are awarded and kind of play out over time. So yeah, these monies can be moved around a little bit, and they're definitely willing to work with us on it, but this is the rough estimate I have going forward right now. So I can share this with the team if you would like to review it. It's just the narrative. A lot of this has come from the previous studies and other grant applications that that have taken place surrounding this project. I believe, yeah, I think the biggest thing I wanted to share was the that schedule with everybody. Here's a little bit more of the budget broken down, project costs. And this is pretty simple since it's all design work and not necessarily construction at this time. So that's kind of the gist of what I had to present as far as where ESA is at, where the project is as far as timeline and funding. Noel, go ahead. Any input?
Yeah, I was just considering the option of potentially having a Google Drive space or something like that where we can store documents that we may need to collaborate on in the future for this technical team. Do you have, excuse me, a Google Drive or something like that set up?
I can certainly set one up. I was just thinking the same thing as I was going through looking at these presentations and grant applications in preparation for this meeting. Yeah, that would be, I'll get that set up and I'll share the link with the technical team. And that'd be a good place for these kind of documents to live, for anyone to go look and to add other past studies or documents or inputs. And then also on these collaborative docs.
Yeah, there's also, there are a couple of other Google Drives out there right now. We could transition some of the documents over from those into the current tech team folder, so we don't have all those disparate sources out there.
Yeah, that'd be great. Noel, we should work together on making that cohesive, because I don't have access. I have access to all of TEP's files and anything that you have shared with me, but as far as any previous like Google Drive folders or documents, I don't have access to yet. So that'd be helpful. Does anyone else have any questions or input for this, for where we're at right now? Malia?
I was thinking it'd be great if we could do some type of a field trip at some point in time, and I would be more than willing to lead that and provide all the technical, geology, hydrogeology background for the site, and kind of include some of the key data that is going to be tying in, so that everybody can kind of get their feet on the ground from a technical perspective.
Yeah, that would be great. I can, if it's all right, I can put together another doodle poll and see what time would work for folks. We are going into the rainy time of the year, and I think it would be good for some of us to see some of the flooding issues and whatnot firsthand. I know I'm new to the project. Dave Shively's new to the project. There's a lot of us in new roles, so that perspective would be great. Malia?
Yeah, just let me know and I can pull that together. And also at the same time, the Watershed Council Board has also been wanting to come out. So, if we do this field trip, it would be nice to include the Watershed Council Board as well.
Okay. Great. Does anyone else have any specific questions? I scheduled the meeting for an hour and a half to make sure we had plenty of time for a discussion or talk. But if there's no more questions, then we could end early. Okay. Well, I will send out once I have the confirmation from Erica with the Oregon Coast Visitors Association for Kiwanis Community Center, I will send out the invite to all of you folks if you want to join in person. That is a hybrid, so if you want to come on out to Pacific City on a Saturday, please feel free to join us, or if you just want to watch on Zoom, you're welcome to see how those town hall meetings are going to go. And I plan on kind of following that same format moving forward. So it's kind of the first one, we'll kind of get our flow and then be able to have those as we go. So I'll be sure to share that with the team as soon as I have that confirmed. Other than that, if there's nothing else, oh, Malia, go ahead.
Yeah, well, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, that particular date that you have picked, unfortunately, corresponds with our professional organizations technical meeting in Eastern Oregon. So we're going to be on opposite sides of two mountain ranges. And I don't know if the community, or are you talking Cape Kiwanda or Tierra del Mar? Which
Cape
community
Kiwanda.
center? Huh?
The Kiwanda Community Center in Pacific City.
Okay, all right. Yeah, that one does have internet capability. So yeah, I could zoom in then. All right.
Yep. Yeah, that's why I picked that one, because I wanted to make sure that that it could be a virtual meeting as well. I did go to the Tierra del Mar Community Association meeting over Labor Day weekend and introduced myself and spoke to the attendees there, and I was able to put together an email list. So I have an email list for the Community Association and for the Sand Lake Working Group that was formed, I believe, in 2018 or 19, earlier in this project. So I'm going to share the links with all of you and with those email lists, but please feel free to spread far and wide the announcement of the meeting, share with those who might be interested, post where you can. Like I said, I want this to be a truly public meeting where you know, anyone who's interested in the project can join and know about it, because it's on Oregon State public land and I want it to be available to as much of the public as possible. So
Could you state the date one more time for me, date and time?
October 22nd.
Okay. Thank you.
And the meeting itself will be from 1 o'clock to 2:30.
Thanks.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining me today, and just keep an eye out for more emails from me for these upcoming meetings. And if any other questions come up, please feel free to reach out to me and I'll do my best to track down information for you.
Thanks, Gina.
Thank you, guys.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks.
For coming.
Bye.